welcome back. And as Roby 1 returns, we go into the conspiracy book by John Michael Greer. And we'll return with the 45, as we spoke about in earlier stories within this book. Is now we're into 1745. As I've started this, and as we continue this, it started from the earliest dates all the way back to Solomon's Temple. Let's just take a quick gander at the picture. Scottish kilt type action. Hooligans, perhaps. Those hats resemble the Pope. Everything was ready at last after decades of hard work, spreading propaganda, sowing decision, gathering weapons, and enlisting foreign allies. The great rising that would liberate Britain from the Hanoverian yoke was about to begin. That was what Charles Stuart, 1728 to 1788, the Bonnie Prince Charlie of Scottish legend, and his followers believed as they boarded ships to sail from Brittany to Scotland to raise the flag of revolt in 1745. As it turned out, the Jacobites had simply repeated the mistakes of 1715 on a larger scale. Most people in Britain regarded the Stuart cause with suspicion because of its alliance to the Catholic Church and the French. Many of the Scottish Highland clans realized that Charles Banner and Stuart rebels seized Edinburgh, defeated several small British forces, and marched south as far as Derby. But the Great Rising never happened. As the British army closed in, the rebels retreated in Scotland, where they suffered a catastrophic defeat in 1746 at Culloden. The 45, as it came to be known in Scottish legend, was the last gasp of the Jacobite cause. Charles Stuart returned to the exile in France, then in Rome, where he died a bitter alcoholic in 1788. The secret societies that had funneled arms and money to the rebellion were pressed into service to help defeated Jacobites flee to safety abroad. In the decades that followed, Scottish Masonry and several other Jacobite branches of Freemasonry gave up politics for other missions. Meanwhile, the secret society methods that had been developed in the long struggle between the Stuarts and the Hanoverians found new as radicals became the aim as the conservative monarchs in Europe. So even back then, they were using radicals to take aim at the conservatives. All right, so see also the 1715, the strict observance 1754. So it's the Hellfire Club. Interesting picture with the mirror not showing the back of his head but the front of his face. The phantom mask with the claw-like hands fondling a woman with his poetry and his dirty schemes, perhaps tantalizing with riches. So 1746, the Hellfire Club. The same Duke of Warthorn, 1698 to 1731, who founded the Gomorgans in 1724, had briefly launched another, even more colorful secret society back in 1719. The Hellfire Club lasted barely a year before it went into abeyance, but it rose again in the wake of 1745 rebellion, when a dissident aristocrat as colorful as Warthorn, Sir Francis Dashwood, 1708 to 1781, revived it. Dashwood was a friend of the colorful Lady Mary Wortley Montagu, 1689 to 1762, had been Warhorn's mistress in the days of the original club and participated in its rite. He and the group of roistering friends began meeting in rented rooms at the London pub, the George and Vulture, which Dashwood had a medieval abbey in. Medmenham, what is that? Medmenham remodeled in the club's permanent base. Once Medmenham's abbey was destroyed to its original splendor, the immense supplies of liquor and a world of class collection of pornography had been brought in. Members of the club went there for regular meetings and ceremonies. The ceremonies were classic expressions of the Gothic taste of its time. Members dressed in black hooded robes and took part in a burlesque pseudo-satanic rites accompanied by scantily clad nuns who were either noblewomen of easy virtue or prostitutes hired for the weekend. Astonishing amounts of liquor were consumed in these celebrations, which inevitably ended with an orgy. All this was typical behavior among the English upper class at the time, but some historians have argued that the Hellfire Club also served a serious purpose as a center for Jacobite propaganda and the opposition to the existing order of British society. It also helped feed popular notions of secret society, centers of debauchery and defiance. See also the Chevaliers of Jubilation, 1710. The Glamorgans, 1724, the 45, 1745, and the Palladian Order Hoax, 1897. This is a good book. All right, The Ancient Modern Schism, 1751, as we're on page 45. Interesting. It's an old world. Look at that. That's a monster build. Looks like it might be missing some type of antiquitech on the top. There's a window there in the middle. That's rather rare. Wonder what the symbology is on that valance up above it. Imagine if it was an owl. It looks like the snakes are Sanskrit, if I was to guess. Ancient Modern Schism. The total defeat of Bonnie Prince Charlie Jacobite forces at Culloden in 1746 ended the last hope of the Jacobite restoration in England. But it did nothing to bridge the bitter divides that the long era of Jacobite Hanoverian feuding had brought to Freemasonry. If anything, the end of the fighting hardened those divisions and a split became inevitable. In 1751, accordingly, a group of Jacobite Freemasons of Irish descent living in London formed their own Grand Lodge, calling it the Ancient or the Ancient Grand Lodge. Both spellings were then in common use, and proclaiming that the existing Grand Lodge had abandoned the traditions of Masonry. The original Grand Lodge of England, which was loyal to the House of Hanover, thus came to be called the modern Grand Lodge. A number of existing lodges left the modern Grand Lodge and joined the ancients to the ancient Grand Lodge, organized other lodges. For more than 60 years thereafter, England had two feuding Masonic Grand Lodges, and members of the lodges under the jurisdiction were strictly forbidden from attending meetings of lodges to the other. The split did not resolve until 1815, when everyone who had taken sides in the long quarrel between the Jacobites and the Hanoverians was safely dead. In that year, the two Grand Lodges finally joined forces to become the United Grand Lodge of England. Across the Atlantic, similar unions brought together competing Grand Lodges in many states of the Union. The one remaining vestige of the old quarrel is that to this day some Grand Lodges of the United States append to the initials F and AM, free and accepted Masons, to their to their titles, while others use AF and AM, ancient free and accepted Masons. Then with the old schools, then the ancient free and accepted, the free and accepted Masons. It could be a reverse trickery within the facts right there. This book's good. Sorry it took me a while to get back, but when I finish everything, you'll see it. I don't show anything until it's done. This will be the next one, 1754, The Strict Observance. Who's this cat? Baron Carl Gotthard Van Hund. He looks like a swindler. Oh yeah, he's a swindling. John Swindlenberg. He's next. Yeah, see you soon, Roby 1.